Hey guys, how's it going? It's the new day. We're gonna start working on the E30 and get the lift on it today. I'm gonna start with the front end. We did one spring in the back yesterday. This just to see how it's gonna go. Yeah, let's show you guys all the parts that it takes to do the lift and start taking it all apart. So this big box is everything that it takes to do this. Here's basically all the parts you need to make this happen. The springs, these are E34 front set springs, so off the 5 series. Uh, I found this out through the forum, so I hope that it fits nicely in there. The rear spring, a lot of people use E36 convertible rear springs. These are off an E46 Wagon, so a heavier car. Yeah, you can see the height difference between the lowering spring, a bit thicker and a bit longer. The shocks, whatever you do, just make sure to get the original length for the shocks. Don't get the performance shorter length shocks that they usually give you with the shorter springs. So these are the Konis from FCP Euro. They were the cheapest good parts I could get. So yeah, I think the OE ones, the Bilsteins, are like 40 bucks on Rock Auto. So find whatever's on sale at the time and then get those. I also got new lower control arms and top mounts because I'm taking it all apart and the steering wheel has a really bad vibration. So I'm just gonna go ahead and replace all that stuff now while it's all apart. So the front end's gonna come fully apart. I'm taking the caliper out of the way so that I can drop the whole strut assembly from here. I think it'll make it easier to take everything else apart. So yeah, so let's get the caliper out of the way so that we can drop the whole thing.
The pads are good.
So to take apart the front end of an E30, you basically need 3 sockets, a 15, a 17, and a 22. The lower control arm bolt that's right there on the subframe comes off with the 22, and then you can just hit it from the top. There's that one. The ones that hold this little lollipop looking thing right here, those come off with the 22. And then the steering rack joint and the joint on the other side just come off with the 17 and a 19. Super easy. This one's a bit more rusted than others. Hopefully yours isn't, but so far it's been coming off pretty easy. Live. Okay, so we have the front struts out, as can be seen right here. We are separating the lower control arms. Gonna try to pull these things out. I don't know how, but we're gonna try our best. Should have probably just bought new ones of those, honestly. This one, we're gonna undo this right now and then start struggling on separating those. These also need to be cleaned up a little bit, resprayed so that the rust stops and the brakes work better. So this is gonna be our first attempt right now at pulling this. I'm gonna try to support it underneath of this thing.
We tried hitting it, then lubricating it and hitting it again, and it still didn't budge. So we decided to move on to removing the shock from the strut mount, which was going to be another problem. We checked on the forums and found nothing helpful, and then just went back to trying to remove the shock. Currently trying to get the shock out of there. It looks like it's threaded in, but obviously not budging very easily.
So after a good amount of hits with the chisel, as you guys can see the damage, we get the shock off. The oil has leaked everywhere inside the tube, so that's why it's all wet. And then this is gonna be the new one, all shiny and orange. Oh yeah. It's been about an hour and we have disassembled the complete strut housings and a few other things. So these were a little bit rusty, so we're hitting them up with the wire wheel. And Tiff has been painting our dust shields. Picasso. So yeah, so we're just getting the rust out of them and spraying them with the rust reformer. This thing's amazing. I don't know if it really works, but yeah, we're messing around with it. Yeah, that's what we have right now. I discovered that we're missing the rear speakers. That's why the connectors are just off. What the heck, man? Not cool. So we're assembling the back end now because we're waiting on the front. I thought I could remove the lollipop bushings, but we can't. So we're painted the parts, waiting for them to dry, and ordered the part from Napa. Should be here today. We took apart the back end. I'll show it to you guys. All of this stuff had to come off for the rear shocks to be removed. Not an easy job. Yeah, so now we're assembling the shock mount and our bright orange shocks that are gonna go in right now. And then we're gonna vacuum the back end because it has a lot of disgusting stuff for all the 40 years that this car has existed. And we're gonna put it back together.
Yeah, don't move. Are they back here, the other ones? Next is going to be removing the spring from this side and then replacing it with the new one. We had to remove the seatbelt in order to access one of the bolts for the shock. We don't want to lose any more nuts.
This trunk is smaller than it looks.
Say you're torquing it down.
I'm torquing it down. Says Tiffany. Alright, if you're replacing your wheel bearings, always remember to put the dust shield on first. I forgot the first time and I forgot the second time. Don't be an idiot like me. The tiredness is getting to me. Yep, so our tie rod boots were fine, so we're just reusing them. And because I didn't get new ones.
Okay, it's been a minute. We got these new parts, and we just gotta press it onto the new lower control arm.
That's so hard.
Tell the people we did.
Okay, so after struggling, the easiest thing to do is just put the soap. Look at my hand. And it's on. Yay.
Okay, so our E34 series springs are on. Our bump stops are in. New wheel bearings are in. Painted by Tiffany, our Picasso. Wait, let me get my...
I like spray paint.
This doohickey goes on top, and then we're done. We can install it in the car.
Let's see if it fits.
Yep.
All right, we're fighting daylight. So we'll see what we can do. All right, it's the next day. We're having some trouble getting the lower control arm, like the ball joint, onto the strut because we put the control arm on first and it wasn't basically enough space to get the strut on, even though it's already bolted from the engine bay. So after struggling and trying to take down the lower control arm, and it's basically pressed in there, it's stuck, we've lowered the engine a little bit because the lower control arm is connected to the cross member here, and that's allowed us to lower the control arm entirely and slide the ball joint into the strut. Is this the best idea? No, but we've been doing this for like 2 hours last night and then like another hour this morning. So this is what's worked. This side is on. We're gonna go do the other side.
All right, tell everyone what we're doing.
We are tightening the top after having to take it apart because the stud was spinning.
These studs came out from our top nuts, so we had to take it apart twice and press them in again. Alright, so from 8 p.m. last night to, what is it, 1 o'clock right now, 2 o'clock, we've been trying to do 4 bolts. Trying to put the struts in. Everything that could go wrong went wrong so far. And, man, I hope the last 10 minutes of this that we have left can go smoothly as well. We only have to put the sway bar in, put the rotors on, calipers on, tighten the steering rod, the tie rods, the lower ball joint right there, and we're done, hopefully. Oh, and we still gotta do the rear sway bar as well. There's a few bolts right there that we gotta install. Wish us luck, and see you in like 2 minutes when we break something in.
Sway bar is back and about to get connected. Again, that took like another 30 minutes. Seems like nothing wants to go together easy today.
We are tightening the lower ball joints finally, and I think I can just finish it off with just a wrench because the ball joint's not spinning, thank God. What else?
We did the steering.
Every step of the way has been a fight.
Don't buy a BMW.
Yes. There's one thing to take away: don't buy a BMW.
Rotor is finally going on. My favorite part of the whole thing is putting the tires back on, which means we're done. Thank God.
Alright guys, so last time you guys saw this thing, it did not have the off-road tires, and here it is. Here's the final version of the car. It has been like this for like more than a month now. I really love it. We put these 27-inch Generals on here. It's the 27 by 8.5 by 14. These are the BMW bottle caps. On the rear end, from what I showed you guys in the video, I did not have to make any modifications. So the rear end with the E46 rear springs went together perfectly. But if we go to the front, we had to modify the springs a little bit to have the correct ride height. The E34 springs had to be cut by 1.5 coil for us to get the proper ride height because it was sitting way too tall. I did the math on the spring rate with the cut coil, and it's basically the front spring rate is the same as an E30 M3. So it rides so smooth. You can hit speed bumps at like 60 miles an hour and you don't even feel it. The rear end is a little bit heavy when it's empty, but when you put 2 people in the back seat, the car rides pretty level and rides really smooth. Regarding clearance, there's no rubbing in the back. On the front, as you guys can see, this trim is hanging because sometimes it rubs in this corner. All I had to do was remove the front fender liner, and besides that, everything clears perfectly. At the top, where the spring pad is, kind of like on the strut, it's kind of tight right there, so you might need spacers. But since I got these tires used, I did not need to space it out. It just fit perfectly since they're a little bit worn. But if, like, let's say you get brand new tires, it'll just rub itself off. I don't think it's something to worry about. So yeah, I also painted these wheels white. I don't know if I like it. Some people like it, some people don't. I'm just experimenting right now to kind of see what the final version of this car is gonna look like. Some more updates. I added these lights right here. They're not wired in yet. It's just for aesthetic right now to see if we like it or not. There's the Hellas from Amazon. Trying to get an idea if this is if I want it without a bumper, or maybe I should possibly build a front bumper. So leave that in the comments if you guys want to see us build a front bumper for this thing, possibly also a skid plate. Yeah, this thing is so much fun to drive. The only sad part is it doesn't have AC, and it is summer in SoCal, so it gets very hot. Tiff does not enjoy it at all. She's behind the camera shaking her head right now, how much she hates it. But yeah, so this is the final form of the car. And there's more videos coming of us taking it on trips.